This is the wrap up for the Unsafe series, probably the last video in the series. Just a reminder that this whole series is targeted towards beginners and recreational judokas. Um, if you are if you're a serious competitor, it might not be for you. But the whole point is to highlight the risks and how things can be done safely or dangerously that aren't usually shown or explained, and for people to make their own judgment and risk assessment on what kind of risks they want to take. For example, if you, for whatever reason, you never ever want to get caught with a Tani and Toshi, then probably just don't turn your back on someone, right? So you just have to manage your risk assessment and everything. You don't have to follow everything we say. We're not saying don't do this stuff. It's just know the risk and make sure you identify this. Especially with the proliferation of Instagram and YouTube Shorts, we see a lot of people show these cool, flashy moves, and I don't think people understand how dangerous some of these moves are.
Yeah.
The goal of the series is to educate more of you guys so that when you see this stuff, you understand, like, hey, that looks dangerous because it looks like this can happen. One thing I really don't like is that people will say, well, they know what they signed up for. Do they really? Do they really know what they signed up for? Because a lot of times people, like I said, they'll see these things and think it's safe, and then they do it and they get hurt, and I didn't know it was dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think it's the failure of the coach to not explain these kind of things and for people to know. And the other half of it, it's like people get hurt, then they're like, see, this is why you don't do that. And then they use that as like a teaching tool example.
Yeah, an example.
After the injuries occurred already. So that I don't think people know what they sign up for. They're beginners. They don't know anything. That people say that all the time. You're a beginner. You don't know anything. To shut up and train. But then when it comes to like injury stuff, they're like, well, they know what you should have known. You don't know what you signed up for, right?
It is one of those things of, yes, we're doing a martial art. We're doing a combat sport. Injuries happen. Stuff can happen, okay? But it's also, as an instructor and just as a good partner, again, we're going to mutual benefit, to be able to protect your partner at all times, protect your student at all times, and let them know what can happen. Now, I'm not telling you to be like, you can break arms, legs, like show them gruesome videos or nothing, but let them know, like, yes, people can get hurt doing this wrong way.
Yep. Yeah, because I think there is a kind of conflict of interest sometimes, because you'll see these websites where people are like, is judo safe? And it is very safe. We teach break falls, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, then someone does kani basami because they didn't know you're not supposed to do that. Or they drop someone on their head, or they do like a throwing arm lock throw or something like that. And it's like, you never explicitly told them that's dangerous or not to do that, right? Yeah. So that's the goal of the series. It will take forever for me to cover all the different ways that dangerous things could occur. Like, the previous series and the videos focused mostly on the most common throws, like osotogari, Tani Toshi, Sumigaishi, drops in nage. So we covered the most common things, and then we also explained why IJF banned something because someone doesn't understand. So the common things, or things that are misunderstood, like reverse nage, for example. So we focus on that. But it would take me forever to cover every single freaking scenario variation that happens. And in the end, they all follow like the same principles of how dangerous stuff occurs or happens. So if you watch like some YouTube video or Instagram video, you should be able to see those principles occur, and you can tell, even though you've never seen it before, you've never seen that technique before, you should be able to notice these principles and say, that is dangerous.
Yeah.
So that is the goal of this video. So follow the principles and mechanics that we describe in these videos and look at the patterns instead of looking at them as like isolated technique, right? Because also the guy is super safe. Like I said, you go calf to calf. But as soon as you look at the competition variations, it's like, why do people's legs break sometimes?
And that's something that I think that we talked about, but maybe didn't emphasize, that there are differences with competition versions where you're trying to get a gold medal, trying to win Olympics, and doing this casually at your dojo for exercise and recreation, all right? No one should be willing to break a leg or break a neck at just trying to be gym champion, all right?
So some of the core concepts all follow this. It comes from the Chemi series. So if you haven't seen the Chemi series, it's on my Substack, on the Time to Talk Substack, go look at it. The core concept is that most catastrophic injuries occur from uncontrolled falling body weight, when one person's body weight gets added onto the mass of another person and they fall together, or falls into their joint, or falls into their vital points or something. So that's usually when serious injuries occur, and also during counters. Counters when people's legs get tied up in a weird position, their posture's broken, they're in weird angles that they haven't trained usually before. So those are two things that usually contributed to those situations happening. The ways that techniques are made dangerous, one is sacrifice throws into joints. So Tani and Toshi, right? We mentioned like sacrifice and throw into the joint. I've recently also unlocked a new fear, is that I've seen people start doing sumigaishi from the corner here, instead of stepping to the front and then kind of doing it at a corner from the front. They're just coming in straight from the side and just sitting right into the side of the knee.
New fear unlocked.
Yeah, so there are infinite ways for you to do that onto the side of people's knees. Like, I've seen jiu-jitsu guys, no-gi jiu-jitsu guys do some sort of like yoko otoshi, but they just chop onto the side of the knee and sit down. So if you see someone dropping their body weight onto a joint or getting really close to the joint, it's dangerous. That's one. Which leads to another thing, which is any drop techniques that basically trap something. So I'm using my body weight to trap something. I better be trapping at something where it's meant to move.
Yeah. You should be doing trapping right above the knee right here.
Yeah. If I trap something where if they can't move, it means it breaks, then that's dangerous, right? So we already mentioned Tani and Toshi, but also like Udagaishi, we showed Udagaishi. There are some pseudo like arm lock throws that are technically IJF legal, but are technically locking your arm while you throw them. The next thing is under rotation, like drop Seanage we talked about, certain types of reverse Seanage where you under rotate and just drop them straight down the head with your body weight. Sumigaishi, under rotation head spike. It's just limitless. Like any sort of throws that causes under rotation, so the uke cannot effectively do a ukemi, then they're dangerous. And obviously you have to put in account, like if they're a white belt, or yellow belt even, their ukemi might not be up to par, then you probably don't want to do those throws on them because they don't know how to make up for the under rotation, especially if they resist, right? Because with resistance means there's higher chance of me under rotating. I might be turning all the way with all my might, but if you're strong and you make me not able to over rotate you, then you're going to get under rotated onto your head or shoulder. Reaping a leg in a direction or angle that is not going with the way the leg bends. So very, very simple to understand, right?
Yes,
Anything where you kind of like put all the weight onto the joint that you're cutting off, even in Newaza, right? If I post my arm out, all my weight's on it, and then you pull right on my elbow, you're gonna like basically ude katame me, right? So same thing goes with the leg. If I reap it any direction where they don't bend this way, then there's a high risk of that happening. And of course it happens in competition, but during training, it's possible for you to try and finish things in the angle that's calf to calf. So some really common ways is like osotogari, we talked about it, kosotogari. Kosotogari follows the same formula. Kosotogari follows the same formula. It's actually after osotogari is statistically the number 2 way ACL injuries or knee injuries occur. So here, if I put all my weight on here and trap it and sit down like that, it's essentially the same as like doing this that we talked about in the Sotogari video. Just imagine this is my right leg of my clone right here. So it's essentially the same thing. And our bodies are also more tightly connected, so there's more weight on top of them. So that's also like basically they're all following the same formula. Okay, Harai Goshi, if I get all his weight on his one leg and I chop right there with no weight, none of his weight on my hip in any way, then that's going against the joint, right? So that's basically how most of them occur. Some other ways of people getting hurt is they do something really dangerous for a score, like head dive. Diving your head deep for Uchimata, that's dangerous. You might see high-level people do it, but if you're recreationally, probably don't want to do that.
I know some people might be like, wow, they're saying judo's so dangerous, like all these things scare me now, I don't know if I want to judo. Judo's very safe if you're taught properly, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot in this series, that when you're taught properly how to do these throws, they're very safe. is when they're taught improperly and people force stuff. You know, and there's one reason like to force in competition. Like I always say, if you're trying to go get a gold medal, trying to win the national championships, you know what you're in for, okay? Like we said, it's a combat sports. But no one should be breaking their necks or legs at practice, all right?
Yeah. Personally, I tell people, like, I wouldn't do that unless this is a gold medal match at nationals. Any other situation, I'll just take the fall or I'll stop the throw because I'm not a psycho. One way I actually teach this to the beginners, kind of like notice the dangerous situations and to bail out, is when I teach throws, I teach them in the dangerous ways. Like all the stuff we've shown in an Unsafe Series, I have the beginners do it very slowly. And then I tell them, if this happens, you bail out the throw, or you start taking the fall and jump back or jump forward, whatever. So I have them recognize these situations and they're attuned to it, versus like the traditional model would be, this is the one correct way of doing it. And if you do it any other way and you get hurt, it's your fault for not doing that one correct way, right? So maybe like in your class, introduce some of these concepts by having you practice the wrong thing, practice how to do it the wrong way, so that Uke can actually learn how it feels, and the Tori learns how it feels too, so they can bail out. Like for example, I told people, if you feel your crotch touch their thigh, then fall backwards. Like if you're recreational. So my crotch touches his knee or thigh in any way, then I'm most likely sitting onto his knee. So don't continue to throw and just fall backwards. So I've seen that happen in Rwanda a few times where people did that and they bailed out. And that was great. So try teaching the wrong thing first in the slow, controlled manner so people can identify it, get attuned to the information, and learn how to deal with it. Basically, that's it for an Unsafe Series. Again, I didn't want to make like a billion videos on it. It's just, please learn. Don't just look at the techniques we did. Learn the principles and think for yourself and take the risks accordingly.
Yeah. Just please be safe out there, all right, guys? Have fun, walk home, and be safe.